Super Bowl odds are out for next year. Where do the Broncos stack up? Do we agree with them or do we disagree? I think you're about to hear us a little fired up on this one. Show starts now. The disrespect for the Broncos has already started, or maybe I should say it's just continued from last year into next year. We're only 2 days into the offseason. We're going to break it down live from the Xfinity studio. We are the DNVR Broncos Podcast. Got my guys, Ryan Koenigsberg to my left, Henry Chisholm to my right. Got Dion behind the camera, rocking and rolling with all of you today. Fellas, how we doing?
Terrible.
Wow.
I just feel so disrespected.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you don't like disrespect?
Can't stand it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That is true. You usually tweet when you get disrespected.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't
quick
flip
to
it
Twitter.
into like chip on the shoulder. It's more just like I'm pissed off.
It's both.
Yeah.
It's all the above. I'm
Yeah.
going to play so hard for the Broncos next year.
Wow.
It's like when I not really even interviewed, talked to Portnoy last week and for a little social clip, and he's wearing the Patriots 6 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah.
And man, did he just get crushed. People are like, what are you doing pretending you're a part of this team? Like that you did anything to win those.
Yeah. I mean, he wanted attention and he got it.
That's very true.
Just an angry little guy.
This is crazy, though, where the Broncos rank in these odds.
So before we see the odds, and I know you guys see them, so I'm not going to ask for a prediction. Where should the Broncos be, just in terms of the order of the NFL?
Top 6 at worst.
Wow.
Why 6 and not 4? Because a lot of people say, Super Bowl team should be 1 and 2, AFC Championship team should be 3 and 4. You would be okay with them slipping out of that top 4.
Yeah, I mean, people are always going to obsess over like Josh Allen and whatever. So I think that you leave room for there to be, well, next year's this guy's year, or this team's year. And it is important to frame all these conversations with betting odds are set to try to get people to bet on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily a prediction from Vegas as much as it is a prediction of what they think a number needs to be for people to take it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think so. Like ESPN, right after the Super Bowl ended, did like their way too early 2026 NFL power rankings, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of curious where this goes. And number 1 was the Seahawks. Number 2 was the Patriots. 3 and 4 were the 2 teams that lost in the AFC Championship. The Bills, who lost in the round before, number 5. And it was just like, well, this isn't power rankings. This is standings.
The final
standings. This is not power rankings. You're just saying what we just saw. It's like, well, you can't disrespect. But the truth is, as Sean Payton says over and over and over again, next year's a new team. You start over from scratch. Like, you don't get to carry the wins with you. And there are a lot of reasons why people didn't think the Broncos were the best team in the NFL. I think even going to like the Patriots, I don't think we're one of the 5 best teams in the NFL, but you have the easiest schedule, you catch a couple breaks, whatever it may be, you wind up there. And I think the Broncos caught a lot of breaks last year. Again, like the comebacks, the Giants win, like it's fluky. Like it's fun and they pulled it off and it's credit to them for doing it. But a lot of what they did historically you see is unsustainable. Like the teams that win the close games one year typically lose them the next year. The Broncos lost them the year before and then they won them last year. And so I think that when you look through, just like there's a reason why the computers would say the Broncos aren't going to be one of the 5 best teams in the NFL. And then as fans, we can say, well, it's Bo Nix. He proved it. But I think that's why, to me, like I'm not surprised that they're not one of the 5 best teams, because you still have like the Chiefs and a lot of those teams who you expect to bounce back.
And I think you're right about when it comes to computers or analytics or all that. I just think what would be lost in that is that this was part of the Broncos' ascension. It's not like the Chiefs, who are kind of already like fully formed. They had reached their final whatever. What's the Pokemon evolution?
Yeah.
And then they had a season where they like weren't very good, but they won all the close games. And then the next season they still weren't very good and they lost the close games. What I think is different about this is the Broncos are climbing. And so, it's the old Bobby Bowden. First you lose big, then you lose close, then you win close, then you win big. Well, the next stage for the Broncos would be win big. And they show that they can do the win close thing. And I also think that the team that almost lost to the Giants in the middle of the season was very different than the team that beat the Bills. And so I think that, again, is part of the evolution and the ascension of the Broncos that they got to where they got to. And maybe they were actually a tick early on where they should be, getting all the way to the AFC Championship game and potentially could have won the Super Bowl if they had a healthy Bo Nix. So that's where I think, for me, it's like, oh, no. They're still climbing. They're only going to get better next year.
And to add to that, where I view it as well is Sean is right when he says everyone starts from scratch in terms of records. And that's just right. You don't, like who we talked to a guest last week who said it'd be great if the Super Bowl winner got to carry 2 wins over into next year. Obviously that doesn't happen, but the team, and Sean, I think, is trying to humble his team by saying we start from scratch. The team doesn't start from scratch. And there are some teams that lose a lot more players and are starting way more from scratch than other teams. This Broncos team isn't starting from scratch next year. We talked about, and we'll continue to talk about, how they have a couple of big free agents. They have John Franklin Meyer. They have Alex Singleton. Those are the starters on defense. And then on the offensive side, you have... zero. J.K. Dobbins. So you have 3 starters. A lot of teams have like half their roster turnover or 30% of starters turnover. The Broncos are having 3 potentially, and I even think they bring 1 or 2 of those guys back. So it is silly to just have a power rankings and have it be exactly how the season ended, because we know the Seahawks are going to maybe even get better because they have $75 million in cap hit. We know that the Patriots might get worse with some of the things they're looking at to do. But so Henry, Ryan said he kind of would put them, or I guess not be disrespected if they were in the top 6. Where would you put your line?
Looking through quick, like I would say probably around top 10 is where they belong. Because like there's a lot that goes into it. This is different than the power rankings because you have to worry about the schedule. You have to worry about who's in your division, because you're not going to win a Super Bowl unless you win your division. That's another one that history just shows. That's 90% of the time the path to winning a Super Bowl. And Broncos are in the rare situation of having 2 contenders in their division. So I just look back at
just one.
Well, two contenders to win the division, not Super Bowl or whatever, but to win the division.
Yeah.
In the AFC West?
Still no,
just one other.
Okay, Chargers are out.
Always have been, always will be.
Man, Ryan, your disrespect level is going to be through the roof later in this show.
Oh, I know.
I
mean, I can see it right here and just looking at the Super Bowl odds.
Yeah.
And that's where top 10 is interesting to me. Because number 9 is the Chiefs. Sorry. Number 9 is the Chargers. Number 10 is the Chiefs. To me, you look at this, it goes...
So let's pull it up right now when you break it down. Pull up that graphic, Dion.
There you go. Super Bowl 61 odds from our friends over at Bet365. Seahawks, Rams, Bills, Ravens, Patriots. Starting right there is where my first big red flag comes up.
The Patriots?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Again, the Patriots were in a dogfight with the Broncos without their starting quarterback.
You're getting no pushback from me.
And thank God they didn't win the Super Bowl, because if they did, I just wouldn't have been able to say anything about it. But just one of the flukiest seasons of all time. Their quarterback was terrible throughout the entire playoffs, and somehow they just fell right into the Super Bowl. Anyways, I think the Broncos have to be right really in the group. They have to be in the top group. And I don't know where you want to draw the line on that, but I would draw it right around where the Ravens are.
I have a big issue going with the Ravens too. I mean, plus 1,200 for both the Pats and the Ravens. Guys, this is a Ravens team that wasn't good last year, didn't even make the playoffs. They were a kick away from making the playoffs, but they knew that there was so much dysfunction and they needed so much change that they fired their head coach. Their head coach that was a good head coach, they moved on from. They have so many unknowns, but because they've got, and fair enough, they've got a 2-time MVP in Lamar Jackson. That's why they're getting these plus 1,200 odds, is because I think this is Vegas hedging. I don't think they truly believe that they have the 4th best odds to win the Super Bowl, but they know that we can't give them away for plus 2,000 because people will bet on them. Yeah. Lamar Jackson as well. He is a 2-time MVP. I'll give him all his credit when credit is due. Credit was not due for last year. He did not play good last year. That is crazy that they're there. So you have an issue with the Patriots. I agree with you as well with that. I got an issue with the Ravens.
Well, and again, just a reminder that this isn't, in my opinion, it's not that Vegas is disrespecting the Broncos. It's better. The Bet365. It's that the public doesn't believe.
Yeah. It's just these odds.
But what I'm saying is the disrespect that I feel is that the public still isn't scared of the Broncos.
Right.
And
they're not afraid of putting the 1,800 out there.
They don't believe in the Broncos. People didn't realize what the Broncos were. And what I think actually happened is people just forgot about how they felt when Bo Nix went head-to-head with Josh Allen and beat him. When they watched the next week and the Broncos offense looked completely incompetent with a backup quarterback in a blizzard. Mm-hmm. And like that's what ended up being people's lasting memory, and that's the last thing that people saw. But like the way that people were acting on social after that Bills game during that beautiful 26-minute period was like everyone had finally said like, all right, I was wrong. The Broncos actually are like that, and I feel like everyone forgot about that already.
I think the other thing with Super Bowl odds to remember is that again, it's a 12-1 bet on the Ravens. You know, all these bets are long shots. And when it comes to long shots, it's all about the upside. And so you can look at a team and say, okay, their bust potential, there might be a 50% chance in some people's minds that the Ravens are a 500 or worse team, or worse than 500 team. But for 12-1, the idea is that there's just a chance that when you get everything to click, that then they could take off. And so I think that when you look at these teams through that lens, it makes a little bit more sense to remember, again, it's a bet on upside because, 2 years ago, the Ravens had one of the NFL's best defenses. Now Mike McDonald leaves and they totally fall apart and they have a bunch of injuries back there. And, lose 41-40 to Buffalo in week 1. They lose 38-30 in Detroit. Like there were some of those games early that they felt like they were right there, but they got off to that terrible, terrible start. But yeah, I think when you look at all these teams through the frame of like, what's the upside? That's where it makes sense. Because to me, like Seahawks, Rams were the 2 best teams in the NFL. Then you have the Bills who
weren't as good as the Broncos.
Yes, weren't as good as the Broncos.
I need to just stop there.
Right.
I need to stop there because it's not even the Patriots and the Ravens.
Right.
It's going to the Bills at 3. Sure. If you want to say Seahawks and Rams, I won't have a big issue with that. But we saw what just happened.
Right.
We saw what happened with the Bills. And by the way, they fired their head coach. They're kind of taking a tiny bit step back. And maybe to your point, it leads to 2 steps forward, but not initially.
We haven't really had time to talk about this. I hate what the Bills did. Firing their head coach and then just promoting internally. To me, it's like, if you're going to do this, you need to shake things up. Because all I see now is that you had Joe Brady and Sean McDermott, and now you just have Joe Brady. How does that make you better?
It's a good question.
You get a new guy running the defense, and the defense was terrible. And that's the other piece of this is that, yes, last year's Bills weren't any good, but are they close enough that you could fix them? Because that offense was, we think the Broncos defense was incredible. They couldn't stop that Bills offense. Eventually you got down to fourth quarter and they came up with a couple big stops. But for most of that game, the Bills were able to move the ball up and down the field on them. And so if you can you don't need that defense to be awesome. It's just, can you patch it up enough? Because even what they did this year, like they went into Denver and the game went to overtime. Like if ball bounces a different way, the Bills go to the Super Bowl. And so now you look there at 11-1 odds. Like I see where this comes from. I think they would have lost to the 2 best teams in the NFC, but they were a bad break away.
I think Sean McDermott was actually holding that thing together.
Interesting.
I think that's a bad defense that he figured out with all of the crazy disguises and rolling coverages and all of that to actually keep them respectable.
They were the 7th. They gave up the 7th fewest yards. I don't think they were top 10 defense.
Okay. If you think, I watched that defense and thought they were just not any good. And so again,
do you think it was a scheme or a player problem?
Both.
Okay.
I think they just didn't have but the point though is that this year, with that team, they were, again, like a bad bounce. Brandon Cooks brings the ball in instead of letting it bounce off his chest. Jaquan making the play. All of a sudden, they're in the Super Bowl. And you have maybe almost a coin toss to win the Super Bowl. If they get a little bit better next year, then why couldn't they do it again?
Yeah, I mean, I can see the path. I just think that it's crazy that people are basically putting the Broncos right back where they were in their mind before last season. I think, man, I could probably go look through my bet slips to see what it actually was.
Well, Ryan, I'll let you do that. And when you do that, we're going to take a look at where the Broncos actually are, because as you've noticed, we've got through the first 5 and we have not got to the Broncos. And in fact, we're nowhere close to getting to the Broncos. Let's take a look at just how far down they are and how much disrespect it means. That's coming up next.
Common Spirit Health is more than just their hospitals and clinics. They're a team of passionate and expert caregivers who are dedicated to your well-being and woven into the very fabric of your community. From preventative care, advanced surgical solutions, their skilled physicians and caring staff are there for you, and they offer personalized treatment that's tailored to your unique needs. You can expect a blend of cutting-edge technology with a commitment to human kindness at their 20 hospitals and 240 clinics and care sites right here in Colorado. So whether you're looking for a routine checkup, whether you're managing a chronic condition, or if you're responding to an emergency, you can trust Common Spirit to deliver exceptional care close to home. Again, this is the official healthcare partner of the Denver Broncos, which means that when you choose Common Spirit Health, you're choosing the same place that the best athletes in Colorado go to. Experience the difference that compassion can make. Find a Common Spirit location near you, discover a new standard of health and healing by visiting mountain.commonspirit.org. Common Spirit Health, official healthcare partner of your Denver Broncos.
And if you want to eat as healthy as possible, but you don't have time, you don't have creativity, you just don't have the ability to go out and do it on a day-to-day basis, let our friends over at Factor take care of that for you, because Factor, what's awesome, there's no meal prep, there's no following recipes, there's no going out to the grocery store and getting ingredients. Factor just sends delicious, healthy meals straight to your door. You pop it in the microwave for 2 minutes and boom, you've got it. From high protein meals to greens. Look at all those greens in there. They've got ready to eat salads. They've got calorie smart options. They've got GLP-1 supporting meals as well. They've got it all over at Factor. Over 100 different meals you get to choose from every single week. And you are going to get your first Factor box 50% off plus a free year of breakfast by going over to factormeals.com/DNVR50 off and use that code DNVR50 off for that. Offer valid only for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier, eating easier with Factor. Shout out to everyone that's tuning in with us, especially at the start of the off season. We've had just a massive crew rolling with us for a couple of months now. Really fun playoff ride, really fun week last week. And guys, yesterday I was hit with the realization the combine is in less than 2 weeks. I'll be in Indianapolis in 13 days from now. I legitimately thought I had like 3 or 4 weeks until then. Realized it was 2 weeks from yesterday. Had to frantically book tickets because I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing's coming up. And it just made me realize, okay, we got the combine. 2 weeks later is the start of free agency. Then, free agency lasts a couple of weeks, and then we're deep into draft season. And then it's the draft. And then, this thing, there is no off season. When your team makes it far in the playoffs like the Broncos did, there's no offseason, not just for like us, but for fans as well. It's exciting.
That should be a slogan or something.
Yeah.
It is crazy. There's two kind of like big parts of the offseason, usually. It's from the end of when the Broncos' last game is to the combine.
Yeah.
And then it's June.
Right.
Right.
And we basically just didn't have the first one.
It's so true.
Because really, we normally have a break, and then it's like Super Bowl's kind of a busy part, and then it's Combine's a busy part, and then it just rolls on. Well, we never had the break before Super Bowl, so we just kind of rolled right into that. But this thing's going to go by in a flash.
It is, and that's why it's like we're already looking at next year's Super Bowl odds, and all of a sudden the start of the season is going to be here, and once the season starts, it's all downhill in terms of just getting to that Super Bowl. Really quick thing on next year's Super Bowl, since we talked about Super Bowl 61, it is on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
So get your date in the night before.
Or the night after, or
Yeah.
honestly, just pro tip. Like if you can just convince your significant other that Valentine's Day should be on a different day, it's just such an easier experience.
Oh, it's got to be way easier to get into restaurants.
That's what I mean.
It's got to be way cheaper.
I don't think the restaurants spike the prices. Maybe they do.
Some do like only set menus.
Right. That's true. But it's just like, hey, like we should celebrate it on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it'll just make your life so much easier. So maybe you just start a new tradition. next year.
Yeah. That's very true. Okay, so let's go back and look at these. So we've got through the first 5 or so. Then after those, after the Patriots, you got the Eagles at plus 1,400. I'm curious what you guys think about those. I know you have very different opinions on the team.
On who?
On the Eagles.
I think it's high.
They're too high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, it's just a bet on upside. Like if Saquon is an 1,800-yard rusher again, and that defense does what it's capable of, like with a lot of the question for all these is just like, do you see the path for it working? And for a team that was just in the Super Bowl last year, I think it's really easy to see the Eagles back in the Super Bowl again.
I can see a path for every team that's on the screen, though.
Oh, totally. But just like how wide is the path? How different are they?
Okay, I didn't look at every single one, but like I just looked at the Bears, and they're the last one on this list in terms of just our graphic, and I can see a path for them.
The odds that I would just be interested in are the Broncos, the Lions, the Bears, and the Jags.
In terms of betting.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get to those. So you have the Eagles at plus 1,400. You have the Packers at plus 1,400, along with the Chargers and the Lions and the Chiefs at plus 1,400. Holy cow. So there is just a big jam log right there. And maybe we're talking, jam log isn't right. Log jam. And maybe we're talking about not as much disrespect if the Broncos are at plus 1,400 tied with all of those teams, because then you can make an argument that the Broncos are actually 6th in odds, but they're not. They are the next step back, tied with the 49ers at plus 1,800 for the 12th highest Super Bowl odds.
Crazy, man. The Chargers, get them off this graphic entirely. They never have a chance to win the Super Bowl ever. The Chiefs, I assume, in due time will end up in the top 4
this year,
because people are just going to bet that. Like, they're
interesting.
going to love
once Mahomes is back. Then it'll be like, oh,
I think so.
And I don't mean back in Mahomes fashion. I just mean literally back on the field.
Yeah, I mean just as soon as exactly. The Texans, get them out of here as well. Those are my takes.
Yeah,
the Texans.
It's just tough. It's a tough division to be in, and it's especially tough to have the number 1 schedule. And when you look through that stuff, like Broncos, Chiefs, you can make the case, obviously. Like Broncos beat them this year. The Chiefs missed the playoffs. Chargers are a weird one because they
are the Chargers.
You're right, because you look back last year and say like, oh, if they weren't hurt, they would have been a much better team. Like if they weren't hurt, they would have been able to run the ball. If they weren't hurt, then like if they had either of their starting tackles, the pass game would look a lot better. But every single year they're hurt. And so
if they didn't have Justin Herbert at quarterback, they might be able to win a playoff game or two. But they do.
Right. Exactly. And that's the tough part is like if the Chargers are healthy, then they should be up there. But it's just tough to sit here and say like you expect them to be healthy. And they get like going from the second easiest schedule in the NFL to now going into the schedule that the Broncos are going to have this year is a huge jump. And it was really nice to have the back-to-back with the Jets and Giants. Like it was really nice to start with the Titans, but that stuff just doesn't happen next year. And
schedule's still always get the Jets.
Right. The schedule always looks different at the end of the season than it does before. Like we didn't expect the Broncos to have the second easiest schedule last year. A lot of that though was because we thought the Chiefs would be better, and there all of a sudden the numbers change a bit. So I think I don't think the Chargers and Chiefs should be in front of the Broncos. I think that putting them on that same tier as those two would make a lot of sense. And if you wanted to bump the Chargers down, you could.
That would be fair, I think. Cheerios at RK is super sleeping on a healthy Chargers with McDaniels. We've been doing the show, 10 years now?
Yeah.
Someone has said that about me every single year.
Yeah. And they're never healthy.
I've never been wrong.
I think you're correct. I think the difference here, and maybe where they wanted to get your take, or at least where I want to get your take on air, is McDaniels. Going, that's your guy, man.
Yeah, McDaniel.
Okay, they wrote McDaniel. You can't mess me up with that. You know it'll mess me up. McDaniel, he's your guy. He's been your guy before.
McDaniels.
No
Wait,
S.
Mike McDaniels. McDaniel. Yes, sorry.
Henry,
Josh,
don't do this.
Mike McDaniel. Yeah, there we go. Josh stayed. There we go.
And then the Super Bowl winner is Mike McDonald.
Yeah, right.
But you were a McDaniel guy before even the Dolphins were McDaniel guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sad for him. I wish he would have talked to me. I would have told him that this would be the end of his career. But
Wow, it's that bad, huh?
it's that bad. Yeah, and like I'm worried about his health.
Wow.
Like you go into that building, bad things happen to people. And so I don't know. He might just be trying to get some acupuncture done and then get stabbed in the lung.
And then
Yeah.
the doctor will get attacked at Radio Row. And
Yeah,
it'll be a whole big
exactly.
thing.
It's a bad situation for him. He will not be getting another head coaching job anytime soon.
I'm so curious. One, Broncos Country hopes you're right, because then that means the Chargers just don't look good. I'm so curious the dynamic between Harbaugh and McDaniel, because I think it is way more likely to not work, maybe not blow up, than it is to work. Like it is like 80-20 with those personalities for more than a year. Maybe if it's just 1 year, they can get along. But man, Harbaugh is someone that grinds and wears on people. And McDaniels is just...
Well, he's expecting to be there for 1 year.
Yeah.
But if what you're saying, it happens and it doesn't work in 1 year, and then he's the offensive coordinator in year 2, that's when I think it like blows up potentially.
Yeah, very, very possibly.
Yeah.
There's just, it was career suicide.
Yeah. And all that aside, it is kind of like a perfect fit when you look at what Harbaugh wants to do running the football and what McDaniel does running the football. Like that should be insane with what they've invested in that offensive line, with how talented it is, what they've invested in the running back. But again, like, are they actually going to be healthy, or are they just all going to get hurt again and all of a sudden they can't run the football, which is all they want to do on offense? Like that's
on paper champions, 15
totally.
seasons in a row.
And once again, you
they
look at it
really
and say
are.
like, wow, you had Devon Achane as the most efficient running back. He is the most efficient running back in NFL history. Like he passed that Jamal Charles mark. And that's Devon Achane with that Miami offensive line.
Yeah.
With the Chargers, you should be incredible, but there's just no reason to think they're going to be able to keep those tackles healthy.
So how do you feel about him right now with both of those things, the health, and then also how you feel about McDaniel fitting in? How do you feel about the Chargers?
I hope the Broncos play him late in the season. That's how I feel.
That's fair.
Don't give me the Chargers week 1, because they're probably going to come out of the gate hot. They just need to capitalize on that and hope that it isn't too bad down the stretch.
It's exactly what they did last year.
Right.
Came out extremely hot. 6-0. Then I think they went 1-5.
What they always
in the next
do.
6 games.
Yeah.
Man, being a fan of that team must suck so much.
Well, there's only a few of them, so
Yeah.
you
That's
don't
why
really
they don't
have to
do
worry
it.
about them too much. Okay, let's continue to look at this. So we're kind of right around there. Deanna, if you don't mind pulling that graphic up again. Packers, they came into Denver and lost fair and square. They don't have Micah Parsons right now. Maybe they'll have him by the beginning of the season, but like that's a massive question mark that a team like the Broncos doesn't have. I just think it's so easy for the Broncos to be they're 12th right now. It's so easy for them to be 3rd or 4th right now. And that's my biggest thing, is just how many teams they're just giving a little bit of nod to above the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the lesson of today is just get your bet in on the Broncos now. A weird thing with ACLs is at this point of the season, everyone's talking about how like, oh, this guy can get back. This guy can get back. It's possible. And then about halfway through the season, when they're not doing anything, everyone says, well, that first season back is you're just never the same. So
100%.
that's how I feel about Parsons, is like, I'm sure he'll get back. And then he won't produce at the level that he normally does, and everyone will make that excuse for him, which is fine. Same thing with Mahomes,
Yep.
Joe Alt, like all these people who are recovering from major injuries, they're not just going to suddenly just be great.
No, I completely agree. It is not the Chiefs' year. It is not the Packers' year. For those two guys, it's 2027 is where they need to be truly looking. And those are two massive pieces. The Packers are not going to win a Super Bowl without Micah Parsons. The Chiefs, obviously, the same thing, are not going to win a Super Bowl without Patrick Mahomes. And you know what? Micah Parsons isn't Micah Parsons when he's at 70 or 80% like he's going to be for most of this year. And I hope that's not the case, but that's just what we see year in and year out. And the exact same thing with the Chiefs as well.
Yeah. To me, it's just, again, with the injuries, it's tough. When Tucker Kraft got hurt, I had the Packers as my Super Bowl favorite. I thought they were going to win it because they had just gotten Micah Parsons. It was awesome. Tucker Kraft was the best tight end in the NFL. And then Tucker Kraft got hurt, and then Parsons got hurt. And those are like the two linchpins for them, like on both sides of the ball. And obviously things fell apart. So if those guys are themselves, then I think on paper they're a better team than the Seahawks. I think they're a more complete team than the Rams. So I certainly wouldn't have them any lower, because you are just kind of gambling on what those guys are when they get back.
Ryan, what'd you say about the Chargers? They're the on paper Super Bowl champions.
On paper champions.
They're the on paper AFC champions, because I think just like the Chargers, the Packers are the on paper NFC champions year in and year out. Going back to 2010 with Aaron Rodgers, they've won it every single year in the preseason, and then have just never been able to do it. I mean, last year, even if it was 3 or 4 games in, like you were saying, you got in on the Packers. I think 4 games in, they were the favorite to win, and then things happen with them. I don't think Jordan loves that dude.
And it's a good reminder as you're trying to make these predictions this far ahead of the season that in the end it just comes down to who's going to avoid the major injuries.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I'm trying to think of the Seahawks, if there's even a player that I know who had a big injury for them this year, and I don't think
Zach Charbonnet, and that actually opened the door for Kenneth Walker, so it actually ended up being like a plus for them.
Yeah, I mean it certainly didn't kill them.
No.
Literally, but so that one, and then I'm thinking about the Patriots.
I mean, they lost Will Campbell and Drake May, and they got him back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really the key to it all, is just, can you stay healthy? And the Broncos were actually avoiding it so well, and they didn't even
Dobbins and Bo.
I know, and they didn't even have a single big injury that was like instant. I guess Brandon Jones was the one that was like, yeah, his season's probably over.
Right.
But even like JK, there was always hope. And then even Bo, it's like in a normal, if it didn't happen when it happened, he potentially could have come back during the season.
Well, and then at the exact same time, when you talk about Bo, that's clearly the one that broke him. That was the injury that they couldn't overcome, and any team's going to be like that. But there's no doubt in our minds. That's why the headline of our show yesterday was, if Bo stayed healthy, will the Broncos be Super Bowl champs? Like, yes, I think so. It's crazy.
Seahawks fans should be like prepping for the parade, and all they can think about is that headline.
I absolutely love it. So far under their skin. Let's continue to get to this conversation and maybe just look at AFC specifically, and then we'll go into AFC West. That's coming up next.
New built. Listen up, because it's easy to just be like, oh, that wouldn't affect me. That's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to need new built. And then when emergency strikes at your home, you're going to be thinking to yourself, what was that ad I heard on the DNVR Broncos podcast? It's new built restoration and construction for when something terrible happens at your house, whether that's, a roof caves in, or there's a fire, or something that nobody wants to think about. Maybe you find out there's mold that you need to have removed. You're going to want to remember New Built. That's NUBILT, restoration and construction. And they're available 24/7. So no matter when something bad happens, they're going to be there and care about bringing your house back to what you know and love. So when that home emergency hits, New Built Restoration and Construction will be there at NUBILT.com or at 720-903-4254. Make sure to remember to let them know that DNVR sent you.
And make sure to check out our friends over at Toyota. Whether you're hitting the hills this year for some summer hiking, some summer camping, or some winter skiing, Toyota has got you covered. Also, a great car for the beach if you're taking your surfboard out, or just everyday commuting. Toyota is the car for you, because whatever you're looking for, they've got it. They've got 17 models with available all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, like the 4Runner, like my favorite, the Land Cruiser, which they just brought back. And they've also got trucks. They've been in the truck game for generations now. And if you want a hybrid truck, they've got it for you. The iForce Tundra Max hybrid truck. We've got 16 different vehicles that are hybrid as well. So if you want to get yourself a Toyota, visit your local Front Range Toyota store at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR. Let's go places.
All right, another Taco Tuesday at DNVR. We got a stacked menu, Scotty, today. 4 cheese chicken flatbread melt. We've got beefy potato loaded grillers. We got cheesy double burritos. We also got salted caramel churros.
Let's go.
Which is right here. I'm going to start with a churro.
Fire, man. I'm going to start with this this burrito here, man.
The
Excited
churro
about this.
with the caramel in it.
You're in the treat for that.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Okay, way better than a normal churro.
Oh.
Way better. How's the burrito?
This burrito is a hit. Wow. Got the potato bits in there too. Okay. Okay, TB.
I think this is the another burrito action.
How do they keep leveling up like this?
The potato is good in there
It
too.
really is.
Shout out to Taco
It's
Bell.
all seasoned and whatnot. Let's go.
Really good. Shout out to Taco Bell. Get these today.
Hold
The
up.
churros are next level. I mean, the churros are always good there, but like when you have that caramel inside,
It's like the perfect cap to whatever you might get for your meal at Taco Bell. You know
absolutely,
what I'm
man. Another fire Taco Tuesday at DNVR.
Shout out to the fire crew for checking out Taco Bell. Happy Taco Tuesday to everyone out there. And shout out to everyone that's tuning in with us, especially since it's the off season. If you'd hit us with a thumbs up, like this video, subscribe. It helps us extra during the off season, especially this part right now. So we appreciate everyone rocking and rolling with us. All right, let's take a look at the AFC odds to see where the Broncos fall. Because there's 16 teams in the AFC. The Broncos were technically the second, the best in the AFC. So let's see where they fell. Dion, let's pull it up here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th. I mean, we're 2 spots away from just being middle of the pack in the AFC. That is crazy. And they're behind all the teams we've talked about before. The Bills are number 1 at plus 550, followed by the Ravens at plus 600, followed by the Chargers at plus 700, along with the Patriots at 700. Then you have the Chiefs at plus 750. Then you finally get to the Broncos at plus 850, who were, by the way, an ankle away from cashing that plus 850 this past year. And it was actually probably way more than plus 850 this past year.
Yeah. Again, I'm just seeing great value.
Honestly, me too.
And the next one is going to be my favorite of the bunch.
Oh, wow.
Do you want to react to this one, Henry, or you just want to see the AFC West?
Yeah, I mean, Chargers in front of Chiefs surprises me.
Then you're really going to be...
Yeah, because it seems like the path of the Chiefs to bounce back is more obvious. And like with the playoff success, they get in, they've got a shot. Playoffs generally come down to the home team. Home team wins 2/3 of the time. Bills, as Ravens in particular, have a great chance of playing a lot of home games because their only competition is the Bengals, assuming the Steelers aren't any good. Like it should take 11, 12 wins and you win that division.
And you talk about injuries, talk about the Bengals. You have
Right.
to connect those two.
Right. And then with the Bills, again, I think they come down to what you think of the Patriots because it's the same thing where there's only 2 horses in the race. And so it's 50-50 or at least getting that first round home game and probably another home game. But again, if they rip off 12 wins, they should be getting a couple of home games, which gives them a good chance of making the run. Whereas, again, the biggest problem, the reason the Broncos odds are so low in all these is because there are 3 teams competing. And we don't necessarily see it that way because we don't see the Chargers as intimidating. But if you take the public's view, which is that the Chargers are actually the best of the bunch, then all of a sudden it looks like that's why all of them are deflated compared to the others.
That's a really good point about, and I wonder if they have to factor that in when they're setting these odds. They're like, okay, so we think the Chargers, or we have the Chargers first in AFC West odds. And so then we have to put them first in AFC Championship odds, and we have to put them first when it comes to Super Bowl odds because we project them to have the highest chance of playing home.
Right.
Because
that's what the playoffs comes down to is being at home. Like, again, like that Bills game, you play that in Buffalo, I don't think the Broncos win. You play it in Denver, they obviously win. And same thing with the Patriots. Like you play that Patriots team in Denver, you're probably beating them pretty easily because you're at home, whereas it's more of a battle. And that numbers bear that out. It's 2/3 over the history of the NFL.
What's interesting, though, is there's certainly definitely different home field advantages. Just looking at this graphic right here and trying to be non-biased, I think the Bills have a good home field advantage in the playoffs. I think the Ravens have a good home field advantage. I think the Patriots have a good home field advantage. I think the Chiefs have a good home field advantage. And I think the Broncos have a good home field advantage. So I would give the nod to all of those teams about having that. Not the Chargers.
Yeah.
No, like that. It's in the playoffs. That's just like a week 3 game where 40% of the crowd is the opposing fans too, and maybe for the playoffs it's actually more. And you're not worried about snow or elements or conditions either.
But you're not giving a home game to the other team. You know,
But
like
it
you're
is
not
a
playing
great
in
point
Buffalo.
that kind of goes into my whole anti-Chargers agenda, which is just like they don't even have home games.
Right.
And I think it's plays a role in why it's so hard for them every single year. And you've heard quotes from their players be like, yeah, it's weird. It felt like it was a Broncos home game in here. And so that plays a role as well. Like the swings are not nearly as big for them in terms of advantage of playing at home.
Yeah. I wonder, I guess there isn't much of a track record because they just moved to LA.
Well, I was
So
going
you
to say,
couldn't-
have they even had home playoff games?
Because like, the Broncos are 3-10 on the road all time in the playoffs. And so like, and then at home they're now 18-6, I think. And so like that split is just massive.
Yep.
And for the Chargers, like it's not like they had a crazy advantage when they were in San Diego, but it isn't like it is now where there's just like, this is, you're playing a neutral site game every week.
This
Yeah,
is
that's-
actually insane. I don't think they have had a home playoff game since
No.
they moved.
Well, they haven't won the division, so there'd be
Because-
no way to.
Well, you
Unless-
could win the wild card, but then lose. But I mean, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. They haven't done that because they haven't won the division, and they have not won a playoff game.
Right.
Pretty crazy.
Wow, that is something. And what Vegas is telling us is they will this year, and I would bet the no to that one because this one is the one that is so damning. Let's take a look at the AFC West odds. You guys know what order they're going to be, but holy cow, the Chargers are the favorite to win the AFC, followed right behind with the Chiefs. So Chargers plus 170, Chiefs plus 175. So they're saying it's a coin flip. Broncos a little bit further behind, plus 210. Then you have the Raiders, who they say they have no chance of actually doing anything this year, plus 2,800. But just this, seeing this is where the disrespect to me is just absolutely bananas. You won the division. You did it in convincing fashion. You were the number 1 seed in the AFC, and you're not losing really anyone for next year. And in terms of the guys you do lose, you'll probably be able to add across the roster in other places. Plus, I agree with Ryan. You said the Broncos are going up, whereas the Chiefs might be going down or staying at the same point. That's just crazy to me. I don't get this at all.
Check this out, though, and I hadn't thought about this until right now. So a lot of people are talking about the Broncos having a first-place schedule next year. Listen to the teams that the Broncos play as a first-place schedule versus the teams that the Chargers play as a second-place schedule. So Broncos get Patriots, Steelers, Jags.
Okay.
The Chargers get Bills, Ravens, Texans.
Oh my goodness. That's brutal for the Chargers.
That is crazy.
Because wait, let's do the 2 division, or let's do give me 1 and 2 in each division.
So AFC East is Patriots, Bills.
Yep, I'd rather play the Patriots, so the Broncos luck out there.
Yep. AFC North is Steelers, Ravens.
For sure, Steelers. Broncos win that one.
And then AFC South is Jags, Texans.
And that one might be a push.
You'd
You're fine making an argument either way.
You'd probably play the Texans.
Yeah. So you get 2 out of 3, though.
Yeah, and that one is kind of a toss-up because the Texans have that nasty defense. And
it's regular season, so Stroud
didn't the
won't be-
Texans blow out the Chargers this year?
Yes.
I think they
did.
That's why
Yeah.
they didn't want to see him in the playoffs, which is why they threw the game against the Broncos.
Yep. Pretty crazy. Then, I mean, the Chiefs are the ones that really, I don't even know. So the Chiefs get Dolphins, Bengals, Colts.
Why?
Yeah.
The only one that I'm definitely giving them is Dolphins.
Yeah, instead of Patriots or Bills.
But my goodness, Bengals and Colts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it's easier, but it's not like some.
I'd for sure rather play the Steelers than the Bengals, though. So, like, I think the Broncos certainly win one of the, or like win that matchup of one of those.
It was interesting because the whole time we were listening to this, I was just like, yeah, well, the Broncos do have that first place schedule.
Right.
Because the playoffs were so weird this year,
Yeah.
the first place schedule really isn't as bad as it normally is.
That's
Like,
such a good point.
normally you would expect to play like the full force Bills, the Ravens,
Yeah.
and I don't know, and that AFC South's a joke. So
Yeah.
That's always a toss-up.
Who do the Raiders get? Do they at least get an easy schedule?
The Raiders get Jets, Browns, Titans.
And then on the flip side, the Titans, Browns, and Jets all get to play the Raiders.
Yep.
So
Yeah. So based on those AFC West odds, the sportsbook says Chargers have a 33.9% chance to win. Chiefs have 33.3%, and Broncos have 29.5%. And the Raiders have 3%.
Yep.
So
Which
they took 3 away
they're
from the
basically-
Broncos and gave it to the Raiders.
Right.
I just think they took it from the wrong team.
Yeah, I would take it from the Chargers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Man, this is gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see, and I like having this conversation now. We can have the conversation after free agency, after the draft. It'll probably move the most after free agency to see which teams make big moves. Who trades? Is Max Crosby traded? Where is he traded to? Does Travis Kelce retire? Is he coming back? And to see the health status of those guys. But it's gonna be interesting to see how this thing changes. And by the start of the season, are people believing in the Broncos more or less the same?
Real quick, you also get your partner on the other side in terms of standings in the division, or in the conference. So Broncos get Seahawks, which is obviously a tough matchup.
So
Rams will be 2 though.
you actually play the entire NFC West. So it doesn't matter.
So then do you get a different team in that extra game? Who do you get?
I think they get the NFC West next year, right? They play Seattle and 49ers. Yeah. So then it would be a different team in the extra game.
That is weird because, so then based on standings, the Chargers would play the Packers and the Chiefs would play the Cowboys.
And the Broncos are playing.
Well, the Broncos line up with the Seahawks. I have no idea what they do if you already have that team on the schedule. Maybe you just flip them so then the Broncos would get the Bears?
We have the opponents out, so I can pull it up super quick.
I think my final answer for the Super Bowl odds is the Broncos should be at plus 1,400. And to balance that out, I would just take a couple points away from the Seahawks and Rams. And then and maybe a couple from the Patriots too. Yeah, I think I'd just take equal parts away from those 3. And then
I
I'd feel
have no
pretty
idea
good.
about what the Seahawks retain and don't retain.
Yeah.
Usually when you win a Super Bowl, you get kind of picked apart. That to me seems like the worst value of everything.
Absolutely.
The issue is they've got $74 million in cap space.
Yeah.
I think it's top 5. So
Or are they getting off some Russ dead cap too?
yeah, probably.
Yeah. So if the Broncos move 1,800 to 1,400, they'd be tied for 6th through 11th. And I think that's that tier where they belong.
I think the Broncos should be $13.99.
13.
Oh, nice.
I sign up for that too. I think the Broncos should be
Oh yeah, but then I would
plus 1,100.
I would move
At
the
least
Patriots
tied
back.
with Bills.
It's just so hard.
I just want to be ahead of the Chargers.
If you got to swap the Broncos and Bills in terms of division, then I'd agree. Like if you put the Bills in the AFC West and the Broncos moved to the AFC East, then I'd say plus 1,100. But again, when you've got, it's just tough when you're in that 3-horse race. That's what knocks them down, I think.
Who's the random NFC team that the Broncos have on the schedule? Not in the NFC West.
It's not the Panthers. Is it the Cardinals?
I think it is the Panthers.
No, Panthers because they were the number 1 seed. Or they won their division. So that's who
only
the Broncos
AFC.
play.
It's only AFC team.
Yep, but I think that would be the random.
They play them though because they were the number 1. So maybe it's not random, but that's the other team.
Right. Random's the wrong word. It's you play the team that matches you in your division in one random NFC division that rotates.
Oh, that's
The
what
top
it is?
seed.
It's not just the conference?
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where I got
Jets,
that wrong.
Panthers in Carolina next year.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Which is a nice draw.
I guess any of those
Give me
NFC
it in,
South
like,
teams are a good draw.
Late November.
Oh, that'd be great.
Wow.
It would be great. Yeah, don't give it as the first game of the season.
No.
Just bury it somewhere
yeah.
in there. Okay, let's continue this conversation. We got some great super chats coming in too that I want to hit, including could one Bronco change positions? That conversation's coming up next.
Bet365. It's the place to be when you want to make a bet. I've got the curling going this morning. The U.S. to win the gold medal, which I believe they've never done.
Mixed?
Yeah,
Nice.
I'm a big fan of the mixed.
Big upset last night
With the
in the curling.
Did you bet on it?
with Great Britain?
With the
They lost. Yeah.
The ones who are the defending champions lost to the USA.
Oh, yesterday. Yeah. And then Great Britain was like a minus 500 favorite or something this morning, which was a mistake. But that's why you don't take favorites in the Olympics, because people just know like a couple of names. They're like, oh, of course, Michaela Schifrin's going to win. Of course, whoever is going to win. You really got to call your shots with these. And there are a lot of, if you study up, there are a lot of ways to figure out who's actually good that people just don't know. So all sorts of Olympic stuff going on. The hockey's going to be incredible. Avs, Nuggets, I guess. Oh, Jamal Murray in the 3-point contest will be awesome. Go check it out. And if you sign up, new customers get $200 in bonus bets. When you bet $5, win or lose, use code DNVR365, deposit $10, place bet for $5, get $200 in bonus bets you can use on whatever bet you want, whatever the moment, never ordinary at Bet365. You gotta be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or somebody you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply.
And also shout out to our friends over at Goldbelly. Goldbelly is awesome because if you're someone who's been to Buffalo and you've had the famous Anchor Bar Buffalo Wings, the original Buffalo Wings, and you're just thinking like, man, I can't imagine a time I would ever be going back to Buffalo, but I really want those wings. You can get them from our friends over at Goldbelly. And that's not the only place you can get. Wherever you've been, if you've been to kind of a famous establishment in that city and had the best whatever you've ever had, maybe it's Chicago-style pizza that you just can't get where you live now, well, Goldbelly is the place to go to get it. And so whether it's Valentine's Day or another, special occasion where you want to give someone in your life food that reminds them of home or reminds them of a better time, you got to hit up our friends over at Goldbelly. And you can get 20% off your first order at goldbelly.com when you use the promo code DNVR. So that's promo code DNVR at goldbelly.com to find and get some delicious food delivered straight to your door.
And shout out to everyone that's tuning in with us. We appreciate every single one of you. Guys, any final bows that you want to put on this conversation where we stand now?
Bo Nix.
Yeah, I like that one. And people got to stop sleeping on him because that's clearly who they're not believing in the most right now because all these other teams that are up there have the quarterback. And I guess except for the Seahawks potentially, which is interesting right there being the number one team. Now, they certainly have a good quarterback, but all these other quarterbacks are great. And Bo is in that great conversation to me, but clearly that's what the country is saying is they don't fully believe that yet.
Yeah, they'll see.
Yeah, I do. I think I stand by. You bump the Seahawks down, you bump the Rams down, you bump the Patriots down, and all of that equals the bump up you give to the Broncos. And if that's the case, then you probably tie the Broncos with the Patriots, so it's more like 5th through 11th on the list.
Also,
which is probably more reasonable.
Father Time is coming for Matt Stafford someday.
True. Yeah.
It's going to happen someday.
His beard is great.
That's true. The tough part about bumping the Seahawks and Rams down, though, is just that the NFC isn't all that scary.
Yeah.
Like the Eagles are obviously capable because they did it a couple years ago, but they don't scare me the same way some of the AFC teams do. Same thing like the Packers. I believe, I get why people don't. The Lions missed the playoffs last year. Like it's weird. But I still think it's bump the Seahawks down, bump the Rams down, bump the Patriots down, bump the Broncos up.
The Rams
That's
should
5 through 11.
The Rams should draft the second quarterback in the draft this year, which will be Ty Simpson.
Oh, wow.
And not to play him this year at all, to just fully develop him because of what's happening to Stafford.
I think I'd trade that pick. You go all in.
Trade your first round pick to try to.
You don't need a rookie. Like you in a couple years, you might be happy you went quarterback. Mm-hmm. But I think when you're where you are,
that's such a shitty thing for someone like Matt Stafford. If you use a high pick on a quarterback, it's like,
right,
we got a chance here, and you're doing that. One of my least favorite draft picks ever for the Broncos was when they drafted Brock Osweiler right after getting Peyton.
Yep, it's very, very, very fair. I get that, but this is not a 5-year contract that you just gave Stafford like you did with Peyton.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a shorter term.
And obviously Brock, 5-2 as a starter that year, but like could whatever backup quarterback they could have had on the roster instead done that? Probably.
Well, even more so because the Rams have 2 first-rounders. Right. So then you're not even like giving up on Matthew or like saying, I'm not getting you anything this year.
I just don't think Ty Simpson's any good.
I get it. I disagree, but I get it.
Or you do like the Sauce Gardner trade. That was 2 firsts, right? Mm-hmm. And so like obviously it won't be him, but imagine if it could be him. Use those 2 firsts and just get a lockdown corner.
Really good player.
That they did it before. That's how they won the Super Bowl with Jalen Ramsey. They did that same thing.
And boy, was that an idiotic trade by the Colts. Holy
the Sauce Gardner trade.
It's just unlucky you got hurt. I mean, you got him getting hurt and Daniel Jones getting hurt. So the thing about them is that
it's just who avoids the injuries.
Right. And it's just like they were a fluke this year. Like they aren't, their defense isn't that good. The run game is good, but they just like they got lucky. And when you get that hot start, I think you had to go in on this year because they're not going to have an opportunity like that for a few more years because they're just not in a good place.
But what
fail.
you just said is they just went all in on a fluke. That's like the worst place to be.
But all they can get is a fluke. Like they don't have like the Broncos, they didn't trade their their next first round pick at the trade deadline because they're going to be just as good next year as they were this year. They're going to be just as good the year after as that. When you're in a year similar to the Rams where you feel like you're kind of at a peak and the future's a little bit dark, I get making the move to see if you can get lucky.
We don't talk nearly enough about the fact that the Broncos used a first round pick on a quarterback during the John Elway era.
Oh, yeah. We try to ignore that.
That is...
back when he was quarterback. Yeah.
Yes.
100%. I completely agree with that.
1992, 25th overall pick, first round, Tommy Maddox.
Insane.
What the heck? I mean...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Crazy.
Imagine in the social media era.
Oh, my goodness. So that is like... It's like the Bills using a first round pick this year, like mid-20s, on a quarterback because John was great. Josh is great. John hadn't won at that point. Josh hadn't won yet. And so that's like, instead of firing Josh McDermott, they keep Josh McDermott this year. They draft a quarterback. And then what? He was there for 1 year, 2 years, and then gone?
2 years, I believe. 92 and 93 seasons.
So that was 92, right? 92. Yep. So
great year.
John would have been 32 in that season. So that is early. Because, like, how old was... But at the time, quarterbacks didn't play as long back then either. Like, now we're in the era where a good quarterback just plays till he's 40. Like, at the time, Elway playing to 38 was like, oh, my God, this is crazy.
It was?
I think so, yeah.
When did Dan Marino play until? I thought he was late 90s as well.
He would have been
What about,
similar.
like, Art Starr?
Marino was the same, 83 to 99.
Who else is in that draft class?
Oh, who else
the
was?
Great draft class. Why? So it was John, number 1.
This is embarrassing.
Marino.
Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly, yep.
Jim Kelly. He was playing till the late 90s.
He was 96.
Yeah.
So 2 years less. So he
Yeah.
would have been 36.
Yeah.
Still, that's the full rookie contract.
Yeah.
From 92
Yep,
to
yeah.
that is.
if
Who else
that's
was in
even
that
how they did it
draft?
back then.
That is crazy.
Who's the guy who didn't work out? We were just talking about him.
The one guy that didn't work out? Because
Yeah.
there were 6 quarterbacks drafted and 5 of them hit.
Yeah.
Like Rich Meyer or something.
He would be a bad example for this anyway.
Yeah.
Tony Eason, Jose is saying.
Yeah,
out
we
there?
did talk about him recently because then I
Yeah.
said, is he related to Jacob Eason? We said, probably.
Okay, so let's.
Okay, so Elway, Marino play a 38, Kelly to 36.
Yeah.
And we don't know the other two.
Yes, Tommy Maddox did win XFL MVP.
Wow.
And then came back
Wow.
to the NFL and went to the playoffs with the Steelers.
Hard to pass
And
that
then
up.
he's the one who got injured to pave the way for Ben Roethlisberger. I believe.
Yeah. That is crazy. He's had quite a career. He had quite a career.
Yep. Finished it off with the Philadelphia
Blackledge.
Soul in 2006.
Wow. Did John Elway play against him? The team that he owned?
Probably.
Was that an arena team?
Also, John Elway, that's one of my favorite quotes of his of all time because someone asked him at some point, like, you could draft a quarterback when you have one. Like, Broncos did that with you. And he was like, yeah, how'd that work out for him?
Oh, that is so good. John definitely got the last laugh on that one. Okay, when Henry's still looking into that, let's take a look at our super chats. And our first super chat coming in from our friend Evan, who says, why don't we make little Jordan Humphrey a tight end? He's a better blocker than most receiving tight ends. Wide receiver, because he is one. Have him put on 10 pounds, and you got your joker, right? So, Evan, I love this question because there's a lot of truth baked into it. And I truly don't remember how much of this has been said and is out there and how much isn't. But the Broncos at least floated the idea out there to Lil Jordan Humphrey last offseason. This exact same thing. Let's make you a tight end and have you play this kind of role. Maybe not actually be a true joker, but let's have you do this. And he didn't like that idea in the offseason. And so that's why he went and signed a 1-year, non-guaranteed vet min deal with the New York Giants. It's not because the Broncos didn't want him back. It's because maybe they floated out a little too much how they wanted to trade him to tight end. And he said, no, I'm a receiver. So that's why he left the Broncos initially. And then when the Broncos brought him back, obviously they weren't going to try to convert him to tight end midway through the season. So he got to play his role and be back with the Broncos.
Yeah. And so the difference between those two positions is minimal in a lot of ways because, again, like you look at how they use Evan Ingram. Like most of the time you're splitting him out. There's the other, I couldn't pull up quickly enough, like 20% of the time he had like his hand in the dirt. You'd imagine with a converted receiver, that number would be pretty small, similar if not lower. With Evan, you're even like in practice, he goes through the drills with the receivers. And so you're kind of using him that way. The label mostly just changes whether he's in the tight end meeting or the receiver meeting. And I almost wouldn't be surprised if Evan's in some of the receiver. Who's to say?
We know he was doing a lot of individual drills with the receivers throughout the season instead of the tight ends.
Right. So you could try to trick the defense into playing him like a tight end instead of playing him like a receiver, which is what makes a guy a joker because you don't know what to line him up with. But again, that would work a lot better in like a random Madden game against your friends who see like, oh, this says tight end. I'm going to play him like a tight end. Whereas like an NFL defensive coordinator is going to have like, here's how we treat Evan Ingram. Here's how we treat this guy. Like they're not going to be fooled by the letters next to his name. So I think the difference is minimal because they use him essentially like they would use him otherwise.
Well, and in Madden, like you don't necessarily get to control who the matchup is.
Right.
So all of a sudden it's just like you have Will Jordan on a linebacker.
Exactly.
But I don't know, has this ever worked?
Receiver converted to tight end.
Just like the most
Not really.
notable position.
Like Kelvin
conversion?
Benjamin didn't really work. He was kind of fun for a moment, but that might have been his receiver. Who's the other one who they kept doing? Pharaoh Brown, right? Did they do that a lot?
I don't know.
There was one more of those guys who they kept saying.
The only transition that works is basketball player to tight end.
Yes, that one works every time. I don't know. Has anyone ever asked or thought to look into if Bo Nix even likes throwing to tight ends?
They don't really have him, or they didn't really have him in Oregon, obviously this year, but that wasn't what they were about. But I mean, I think
it's not if Evan Ingram was never open.
Right, exactly. But I think you eventually need that because when you look at like the super efficient quarterbacks, typically the tight ends like Tom Brady, famous for the efficiency, famous for Gronk. Patrick Mahomes, like it's all the playmaking stuff, but so much of like the easy stuff is Travis Kelce. Yeah. So I think that eventually, if he did figure that, because it's so easy. Like when you play those soft zone coverages, you just look to your tight end and see like, oh, I can go out or I can go in. Almost every play, one of those is going to be open. And when you get that going, it's just free complete. It's free 5 yards every play.
I just have this like scary thought in my head of like, okay, the Broncos use a first round pick on Sadiq and Bo just doesn't like throwing to him. Like he's like, I just don't like those areas of the field. Like I prefer to throw it out, whatever. I don't know. It's just something that's crossed my mind because if you watch the tape, Evan Ingram could have had a much better season.
Mm-hmm.
Now he also could have caught the ball better.
Also true.
But
that'd be one reason I wouldn't necessarily trust him.
Totally. And I wonder if as the season wore on, Bo Nix started getting trust issues with a lot of his receivers. Mm-hmm. And if that was problematic because all of them had drop issues from Cortland Sutton to Lil Jordan Humphrey.
And that's why there's a new receivers coach in the building, at least in Sean's opinion. They would have just gone
like this.
Everything they would have won the Super Bowl. Okay, let's hit the rest of these Super Chats in overtime. Go to thednvr.com where we will continue the conversation. And we got 3 Super Chats coming in from our guy, Neem Dog. We appreciate the support, Neem Dog. Yes. And his first one says, Sunday cemented that Bo is the top quarterback in the class. If Pats fans want to talk shit, talk Stafford. Keep that same energy when small hands can't hold the ball. It's a great tease. Let's have a quarterback redraft later this week on the show. Maybe even tomorrow. Let's get into that because I love that question, Name Dog. Another one coming in. Do you want to react to that really quick?
No, I'm excited to talk about that.
I love it. He says, you guys are the best. Going to be tough to watch off-season shows live, but I'm still watching. Shout out RK. Feel like I agreed with all he said yesterday.
Hell yeah. Thanks, Neem Dog.
Appreciate you, Neem Dog. And let's round it out here. Chargers have the most hypothetical Super Bowls in history. Wow. It's hard for me to even dislike them because they're such a poverty of a franchise. It really does feel like such little brother. Like, oh man, it's cute that you guys like have hype this year. Like, congratulations. Because you just know it's not going to be lived.
I feel like it's like someone who won the lottery moves into like the old money neighborhood and they've got all these like fancy bells and whistles on their house. Meanwhile, like the real rich people on the block are just like, what are they doing over there?
Do the Chargers have the most cap space in the NFL? I think it's them and the Raiders who are 1 and 2.
Titans have the most.
Titans have
I think
the
it's
most?
Titans 1, Raiders 2. The Chargers are up there.
I thought so.
Wow.
I can double check.
Because they've got the
They're 4th.
Herbert
Jets are
contract.
up there too.
Wow, that's
Oh,
crazy.
and the salary cap came in lower than we expected too, so it doesn't look as big.
Yeah, I think Broncos are 26 million in available cap
Yeah.
space.
And we were hoping it was going to be like 40. But
Yeah.
is what it is.
It's like
Yeah.
they hire Mike McDaniel and it's like they like drive onto the neighborhood in like a monster truck and park in front of their house and like
Right.
meanwhile everyone over here has like Rolls Royces
Yeah.
and old school Porsches. What the hell are they doing?
Speaking of old school Porsches, we saw a really cool one in San Fran.
We did.
That was really, it was James Bond one. No, was it a Porsche then?
I think
Or
it was a Porsche.
Yeah, it was really
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
Broncos Lakers 291 rounds us out. Says don't bring anyone back until we fix playmaker, running back, receiver, tight end, and maybe offensive line depth, backup tackle, starting guards, center upgrade. If they can't wait, buy.
I go the opposite. Give me that defense back. The offense is good enough. If you can bring the defense back and add to the offense, then that's obviously ideal.
But isn't the defense good enough?
Not without JFM. I think you're not. If you bring JFM back, you're leading the NFL in sacks again. If you don't bring JFM back, you're.
Probably not.
I would bet against it. And so I think that's where just give me the best pass rush in the NFL, give me the best defense doing that stuff that they do, and go get whatever else with whatever else you have.
I like this because I go the other way. I go give me a playmaker, and I want JFM back, but he's priority 3 or 4 after getting playmakers.
Or I just say both. Give me both.
Well, sure, absolutely.
but this thing is,
I'm
you
open for
can
that.
do that.
I don't know that you can.
You can. You have unlimited money. You can do whatever you want.
With 26 million cap space and the ability to move money around, you could do it.
You just have so many other you
They
forget though
felt
that
like if the Broncos could have $100 million in cap space tomorrow.
there are ramifications.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
And that's why if you're willing to say okay, Bo Nix rookie contract over, we're just gonna suck for a couple years, you can do it. But that's not worth it. And that's where because you forget that
When you get to those years, then you just push everything down the road again.
there is a limit. There is a point where it doesn't work.
Okay.
And then you have to throw in are you keeping Singleton or Sternad? Because there's $5 million to one or the other. Or there's a list of those guys where it's Troutman, Adkins, one of those guys is getting $1 million or $2 million. And Jaquan's going to get a few million. It goes a lot quicker.
Yeah. Well, and what I will
the
say
draft
is
class.
at a certain point, you do have to hit on some draft picks and develop guys and trust that, hey, if we insert Savion Jones into this defense and just ask him to be, really good at a couple things, it's going to be way easier for him than a different person in his position. So maybe you can. Maybe you take another swing in the mid rounds or the early rounds of this year and let those two compete for that position.
I do think defensive line in the first round would make a lot of sense if JFM goes. Because again,
good.
the reason your defense works is because the base plan for an offense is double Nick, double Zach Allen, and they both go to the right side. And that leaves left side one-on-one with a guard for JFM and a tackle for Cooper. And I'm still a Jonathan Cooper believer. The end of the season was disappointing with the 2 sacks in 6 games or whatever it was.
Kind of cooked in the AFC
He
Championship.
did. And so you need him to win his one-on-ones on the edge. And then you need JFM to win his one-on-ones with the guard. That's how you're unstoppable. And if Savion Jones, you line Savion Jones up against Ben Powers, I'm saying I'm taking Ben Powers every time. You know? And that's where JFM, Ben Powers, I take JFM.
Yeah.
And you hit Quinn Miners and it's okay, maybe not. And you need somebody who's going to make it difficult for a lot of those teams.
To be fair, you are paying everyone on your front 5 right now without including JFM. You're paying 3 defensive linemen already.
Yeah.
You're paying both your outside linebackers. And so that,
That's why I have 10 more sacks than anybody else.
you already are paying.
I wonder what the situation is if you trade Jonathan Cooper and you say Q Robinson is actually the draft pick
Or
who's
Jonah
going
Ellis.
to step up for us.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the ramifications of that are.
You could do it. You could definitely do it.
Maybe that is
Well,
what
you're
they
only
do.
one
They
year
sign
in.
JFM, trade
Yeah,
Cooper,
but-
lean on Q and Jonah
Right.
Potentially.
and Von Miller.
There you go. You just made room for Vaughn. That's going to do it. Shout out to Neem Dog. Let's end on this one. He says, 5 years ago, our offseason discussions were about finding a quarterback. Now it's about how we can win the Super Bowl next year. Man, it feels good to be back. It certainly does. Shout out to everyone tuning in with us. Hit us with a thumbs up on the way out. It's going to be a blast of an offseason. We got a fun conversation coming up the rest of the week. Make sure to stay tuned, and we'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m.
God bless Bo Nix.
We all silly like the mayor.